At the beginning, there was the void. This was not the same kind of void in our world, that being an empty space, because the void in Hallownest was more of a substance which paradoxically fills spaces and creates entities. This substance, black as darkness itself, grew from the abyss, a chasm situated at the deepest part of Hallownest. It is said that an ancient civilization, which came and went long before our little knight roamed the underground, used to worship the void. From the few relics of the past that we can still admire during our time in Hallownest, we may speculate that this was a tribal civilization deeply linked to the abyss itself. Some of these relics may hint to a being with black tendrils, which could represent the void's ultimate state, the communion of the void under the lead of a single will, the void entity. But the void was not the only major power in Hallownest. A higher being, a creature with powers beyond common bugs, described as brighter than essence itself, came to exist. This being was called the Radiance. It is said that the Radiance was the void's arch enemy, as light is opposed to the darkness, although there are no records of fights between the two. The Radiance later gave life to a new civilization, the Moths, and made them in their own image. They were a tribe with the unique power to control dreams, pocket dimensions which are parts of a larger one, called the Dream Realm. The Dream Realm is, in turn, formed by the memories of both the living and the dead. Many higher beings will be in contact with the Dream Realm to several extents, and the Radiance will be no different. From Hallownest's crown, the Moth tribe worshipped her faithfully and erected a statue in her semblance, thankful for the shared consciousness gained from her light. But it was only a matter of time before even the Moths themselves started craving more than that and committed a sin which doomed the future of Hallownest: betrayal. In the lore of Hollow Knight, the worms are described as higher beings with two distinctive qualities: the power of minor foresight and the primordial need to lead other bugs. One of those worms ended up dying in Kingdom's Edge, but for a powerful being like that, death acts more like a metamorphosis. It left his giant worm-like body and was reborn as a pale being. Thanks to both his powers and his needs, he quickly managed to gain a following based on a single promise: the gift of insight. The Pale Being, now Pale King, established the great kingdom of Hallownest. His people were now thriving in knowledge and advancement, and the future looked bright seen from the throne room in his white palace, the core of Pale King's dominion. The Pale King had no idea of how jealous other higher beings can be. Let me ask you a question. Does a god really exist if they have no following? While we can argue about it from both a religious and a philosophical standpoint, in Hallownest there is no doubt. Yes, they do. And they can be extremely vengeful. We usually associate a being of light with a positive connotation, but the Radiance, now forgotten by her own creation, is anything but merciful. After years from the beginning of his reign, the Pale King receives words of trouble. Bugs are acting strange throughout his kingdom. Some say that a presence is haunting in their dreams. The uncomfortable sensation becomes a fully fledged sickness called the infection, which corrupts the body and mind of whoever is inflicted by it. The Radiance revenge has started. Chaos spreads, and the Pale King is losing control of his beloved kingdom. A powerful being under his command, the Soul Master, started experimenting with forbidden arts to find a solution, manipulating the souls extracted from the citizens to cleanse the minds afflicted by the infection. This resulted in the death of thousands of bugs, to no avail. His research of a cure became instead an obsessive experimentation for achieving immortality. Little did he know that the Radiance was already pulling the strings of his mind and ended up locking himself in the Soul Sanctum, driven mad by his lust for power. The Pale King, trying to avoid a fated demise, approached the situation with a new credo: no cost too great. A new plan develops, which may actually work in all its blasphemy. The idea was simple: creating a being that may contain within themselves the infection, and then simply seal them away with the aid of the Dreamers, beings that will be forever asleep to keep the seal active. To put this solution in place, called a pure vessel, the Pale King and his wife, the White Lady, started a lengthy process of generating an offspring, combining their souls together. The offspring was conceived in the depth of the abyss, so that the void's influence would contribute to making the vessel completely hollow. Why hollow, you may ask? That would be the only way to not be influenced by the Radiance and being able to contain her and her infection forever. After countless failures, a vessel came out of the abyss and was considered fit to be the pure vessel, the Hollow Knight. From the lore that we could gather, we know that the Hollow Knight started training in the art of combat, living his life in the king's palace. The time came when he was ready to absorb the infection and save the world. But again, the Pale King made a grave mistake. A secret cutscene that is shown at the end of the most painful segment of the game, called, you guessed it, the Path of Pain, shows that in time he formed a bond with the Hollow Knight. This, unfortunately, made the vessel impure. And even though the Hollow Knight will manage to contain the infection for many years, it will end up leaking out of his chained body in the depths of the Temple of the Black Egg. This will cause a second wave of infection that we will experience firsthand while playing the game. And it is in that very moment, when the world is at the brink of a second possible destruction, that a little knight makes his way from the faraway lands beyond King's Pass to then stop briefly in Dirtmouth, making Elder Bug's day, or leaving him with his hand hanging.